I lost everything. I had to start over. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video. Welcome to Marchell Mondays. I call it a little couch chat. We're having a little couch chat today. This story time is a very huge part of my healing process that I went through. This story time has a lot to do with who I am today. It's really hard for me to actually, be vulnerable enough to open up and talk about my story, but I'm gonna get right into it. I met this guy. I entered into like a high maintenance relationship, met this guy on social media. We FaceTimed for a little bit. We connected right away. We had so much in common. We decided that we wanted to meet in person. I flew to where he lived. Everything was good. Like, he loved bombed me. I felt like this was the one, After like 2 months of knowing each other, we planned a trip. We went to Maldives for my birthday, and it was amazing. Like, everyone, all my family was like, oh my God, he's gonna propose to you, la la la. And I'm like, I don't know, we just met, He's like, no, this is it. I was just like, I don't know, it feels like it. Our connection was good. He had a kid, I had a kid. My son was 3 at the time. His little girl was like 10 or 11, something like that. So it was like perfect. It was like the perfect situation. I noticed that every time I would come see him, when we would fly back and forth, he lived in an apartment. And I was just like, why are you living in an apartment? I do real estate. I was like, let me help you find a house. I helped him get into his house. We went to closing. Then after closing, he like turned to me and he was just like, look, we're always together, we're always on the phone all day. We'll sit on the phone all day, all night, like we high schoolers. So he was like, look, I want you and Mason to come and live with me. I was like, okay. Like, that's what I kind of wanted anyway, so I was okay with it. I met his parents. Things were moving pretty fast. In the beginning, I really didn't pay much attention to it because I was like, okay, we have a great connection. Now, remind you, the house I was living in, I had just moved in my house. I had just bought my house. So I was like super excited about my new house. I like freaking battled over this house. I fought 6 people to get this house because it was like 6 offers on this house. I didn't even get a chance to decorate my house. I packed up everything and he got a U-Haul and we drove all of my stuff to the new house all the way to Florida. I had to transfer me and my son's insurances, to Florida, pull my son out of school, put him in school in Florida. We moved in this house. Everything was great. We was having family time. All his family would come over and we would have cookouts. We had a pool at the house. It was this nice big house. We would go to Disney. Mason was really liking him. He would teach Mason how to catch the football. He was teaching Mason, a lot of things that his dad, wasn't teaching him. Everything was working out so good until he began to get comfortable. Like, in the mornings before he had to go to workouts, I would make him breakfast. I was cooking. I would make different stuff for him, like his favorite meals. We would go out. We would sometimes go on couples dates with his friends. I would hang out with his friends' girlfriends sometimes. I probably was staying at the house for like 2, maybe 3 months. He wanted to, go out with his friends without me, which I don't mind that. It's just the fact that be respectful. One time he came in the house at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now, I know the clubs close at 2. You know what I'm saying? So what were you doing in between that time? I don't know. I'm an investigator. I'm type like security of the world. I'm like, so I woke him up. I was like, wake up. What is this? Some girl named Snapchat. He saves the girl's name from Snapchat. I'm like, you picking up girls from Snapchat? The bottom of the barrel. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was like, oh, you tripping, blah, blah, it ain't nothing, blah. Then he breaks down and tells the truth. It became like a consistent thing. I would find, things in his laundry. I would find condoms. So it became like a consistent cheating, Then he would begin to tear me down and say, well, you need to gain weight. You need to do this. You need to do that. And he became controlling to the point where he was like, don't say it like this. Say it like this. I was so far in deep and in love already that I didn't know that this was not right. It was like I knew, because I knew that I was completely fine, with the way I was and how I looked, but then it was like a sense of like, oh, I want to make him happy. Like, why isn't he not happy with me? So I would gain weight. I would start working out, trying to gain weight, eating protein, just eating more. I never once thought to myself, what made me happy? No. I was just so focused on, making sure, our relationship was good and making him happy. I never forget, he had to leave to go back to work in Louisiana. He went back for camp and everything, and he left me and Mason at the house in Florida. So when he was there, he was like, I think you and Mason should come to Louisiana because all the girlfriends are here, and I miss you guys and I don't want to be here by myself. So I was like, okay, fine, we'll come, up there. So I packed up the whole car and we shipped all of our stuff from Florida, the new house, to Louisiana now. Me and Mason get to Louisiana. He starts to act funny. He started to act like, oh, well, with you guys being here, you're the reason why my career is not going, basically saying like I'm the reason why he's messing up, on the field. Me and Mason being here is a distraction. What? You told me to pack up all my stuff, and we're here now off of your request, and you're telling me that you don't want us here now? I just felt so like ring around the rosy, just in limbo. All of a sudden, he was detaching himself, and I didn't know. If I would have knew that you were detaching yourself, then that'll give me an opportunity to detach myself. He was detaching himself, and I didn't know why. I began to feel very uncomfortable, and I was just like, dang, like, I thought that this was it for me, and now he was just being like an asshole, for no reason at all. He wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't talk about our problems if we had any. Then his friend was having a baby shower. His baby shower was back in Florida. I used to hang out with the friend, the girl that was having the baby. I remember he left ahead of time before me and Mason. Like, he just left us. So I was like, I would call my mom, and I was like, well, why would he leave without you guys? So he left to go to Florida for the party. The party wasn't until like 4 days. It wasn't like 4 days into the party. So it's just like, he just left us. So I noticed that, you know, when he left ahead of time, he would go missing at night. You know, he's in the house doing whatever with whoever. I don't know. It was just crazy. I just kept feeling weird. I was just like, Mom, like, he's moving differently now. I was like, let me go look on his page to see if our pictures are still up. And when I tell you, I scrolled down on that page and I did not see our pictures. I was devastated because that's the moment when I thought, like, I'm in a relationship by myself. And I had no idea because he is now single and we're still living together. I felt so down and depressed. I just felt myself getting into like a depression. I wasn't eating. I wasn't feeling like myself because it's kind of like I gave up everything to come be supportive for someone else's career, and I was no longer thinking about, you know, what I love to do and what I wanted to do. I was all for family, you know, and this relationship. I thought I was doing what was best, you know, creating a family, you know, having my son around, you know, a good role model, you know, this was, I thought, a good person. When he went ahead of time, then I remember I packed up everything. I packed up everything that I could in Louisiana, in that place, in that apartment. And I crammed everything into my suitcase because I was just like, I don't feel like I'm coming back. I don't feel like I'm coming back to this place. And I never forget, I was seeing black dots. Everything was just blurry because I haven't ate in days. I didn't eat in days. And I just felt like in a low place because it's like when you give someone your all, because I felt like that relationship was it for me, you know, because before that I was going through a lot with my child's father. I had a lot of tough times in many relationships. So after my son's father, I felt like this is my time, you know, with someone that really cared for me and my son. I got back to Florida. We went to the baby shower. Mason had went with his dad for the weekend while I went back to Florida. Because I was like, Quan, I was like, I need you to keep Mason for like a week because I got to get my shit together, because I already knew in my mind this relationship was over. And I didn't tell, you know, the person that I was with that, but he was showing me actions that it was over. So I had to speak. I went to the baby shower in Florida. I didn't say anything about, you know, anything. We was at the baby shower. His friend proposed to the mother of his child. And I never forget, I was crying so many happy tears for them. And, you know, my boyfriend at the time was sitting next to me, and he looked at me and he was like, what are you crying for? That's not gonna happen for you. I was just so shocked. I just couldn't believe he said that. Like, he went from this wonderful person to like a demon overnight. And it was just so embarrassing because it's like I wanted to cry, but I'm in front of all these people in a happy moment for someone else, and I was trying to be happy for them. He's over here trying to hurt me for no reason. I'm in a relationship with this person that just was tearing me down. Anytime he had a chance, he would tell me, oh, you're not thick enough, or you need to gain weight, and all these things. Over time, I began to, you know, listen to those things because it's like I was in love with that person. And it was very verbally abusive. It was times where, you know, he would try to like, you know, push me and try to see. And I was like, you know, like, if you ever put your hands on me, I'm going to call the police on you, you know, and I'll ruin your career. You know, I would say things like that to threaten him because I never wanted him to, like, you know, touch me or hit me. Because I've never been in a, you know, violent relationship. I never had nobody put their hands on me before. So he was like, you know, you would do that to me? You would do that to me? You would call the police on me and ruin my career? And I was like, yeah. Like, you would put your hands on me? When we left the baby shower, I just remember driving in the car. And I was just looking out the window. I was just, like, reminiscing and thinking, like, damn. I'm all the way, you know, somewhere. Living with someone that's a stranger, you know? He's a stranger to me because I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he could be this person. I turned to him and I was just like, he was just like, what's wrong with you? And I was just like, you hurt me. You know, you hurt my feelings. What you said at the baby shower, you know. And he was just like, oh, you hurt about that? I was just joking. I was just joking. Why you hurt about that? I was just like, that hurt my feelings because that's something that, you know, that I would want one day, you know. I want to get married. I want to have more kids. We talked about it, went back home, went back to the house in Florida. And when we got to the house, he was just like, you know what? I'm about to go out with the boys. We about to go out to celebrate his engagement and his new baby. And you're going to stay here at the house. So I was just like, I kind of like, was like, man, you know what? He really trying me at this point. You know what? Forget this. Like, I'm about to go home. I'm about to leave. I'm about to leave this relationship. Like, I'm good. So I had to put on a face. I had to get strong because I was in my feelings and crying. I said, nah, forget that. I'm about to, you know, find some strength that I really don't have right now. And just basically, I was just like, you know what? Whatever. So I went, when we got to the house, I went and I got on the phone with my mom and I was like, Mom, he tripping. I'm about to come back home. Like, I'm not doing this no more. Whatever. I was outside on the phone. So I came back inside. When I came back inside, he was just sitting on the steps with his head down, sad. And he was just looking at me. He was like, I love you. I really love you. And I don't want us to fight. And I don't want you to leave. Please stay. He was like, come on, get dressed and let's go. When I went upstairs, we both went upstairs to go get ready to get dressed. So he was like, come here, let's sit down. So he was laying in between my legs. And I was looking in his eyes and he was just looking at me. I never forget. He looked at me and he was just crying. He was just crying. I'm like, why are you crying? And at that moment, I didn't realize he was crying because he was breaking his own heart to leave me. He decided in his mind that the streets, he chose the streets in that moment. He was for the streets, you know, and I didn't know that. He broke his own heart because he was not ready. You know, he wanted to be in the streets. And in that moment, I didn't know that. I didn't know he was crying. I'm like, okay, he's being sincere. Like, he's crying. You know, I forgive you, you know. We got up. We got dressed. We went out to the club. We had fun. We was taking pictures. We was all over each other, dancing on each other. We was having fun. We was having the time of our lives. We left. I told him the next morning, I said, I'm not going back to Louisiana. I'm staying here. Now, even though he was crying to me and all that, my plan was still remaining the same. I was still planning on leaving. I was like, I'm not going back to Louisiana. He was like, all right. I wasn't expecting him to be all right. He went back to Louisiana, and ever since he went back, he left me in the house in Florida. We didn't talk. He didn't send money for, you know, the house. We had a pool. We had to pay to get the pool, keep the pool clean. He didn't send no money for nothing. And remind you, I wasn't working. I had to take a test to get my real estate license in Florida. So once I passed the test, by the time I passed the test, I was already ready to move back to my house. I wasn't making no money. I was just making money from, my investments. Me and him didn't talk for, I think it was like 2-3 weeks. So I called his mom on the phone and I was just like, what's going on? Why is he not talking to me? She was like, look, y'all gotta talk to each other. You can't be living over there and y'all not talking to each other. I was just like, but talk to him because he's not talking to me. She's like, well, did you call him? I was like, no, I'm not calling him. So she was like, somebody gotta call. So finally I broke down. I called. I got Mason to sit there. I was like, let me get out the house because I've been feeling so depressed and down in this house. I was coming from a party and I was driving. I was crying. I was like, all right, I'm gonna call him. And I was like, hey. He was like, what's up? And I was like, so you're just not gonna talk to me? And he was just like, we ain't got nothing to talk about. So I was just like, okay, all right. And then I just hung up the phone. At that moment, I was lost, y'all. I was lost. I was so confused. I was like, what did I do? What could I have ever done? I did everything that I never did in my other relationships. I made sure that I did it, in this relationship. I did everything right this time, I thought. I was defeated. I went back home. I cried so hard. And I was in a dark place. I was just like, I moved me and my son all the way here. I sat in that house for like a few more weeks. And I was calling my dad. I was calling my mom. My dad was like, you gotta leave that house. I was like, I know, but where am I go? Because at the time, I had a tenant living in my house. I rented my house out whenever I left to move there. I stayed there for 3 months, probably like 4 months, probably not even that. I had to pack up my things all over again. My dad had to come down and rescue me. He said, Daddy, I hate to ask you this, but I need you to come and help me move back to Georgia, And I was so embarrassed. Like, I was just so embarrassed to have to call my father, like, Daddy, can you come help me? Because I had nobody, I didn't have nobody to help me. And I was homeless, I was homeless. And I was dealing with an idiot that just like, he didn't care. Now, I remind you, me and him never had not one argument. We didn't argue at all. Remember, I packed everything that I could in my bag. He was like, forget it. I'm just going to send the rest of the stuff with my mama. Now, I remind you, the mama, she don't want him to be with nobody type of person. So at the time, my boyfriend, he bought me a new phone. She was trying to get the phone from me. I had to fight with the baby mama. Not the baby mama. The baby mama was cool. I had to fight with the mama to get my stuff back. She was like, oh no, you need to give me that phone and then you can get your stuff. I'm like, what? I'm like, lady, I'm trying to leave in peace. You about to argue me down about a phone? I'm leaving. I was like, look, I'm trying to get my stuff and your mom's not trying to give me my stuff unless I give her this phone, but this is the only phone that I have right now. Man, I don't know. She be tripping. I don't know. Like, he just tried to be all not trying to help me. I had to drive 2 hours away to get my stuff. And y'all, when I pulled up, his little cousin came out. And then when she seen me pull up, she kind of like closed the door like I was an alien. I got out the car. All my stuff was just on the porch. Like I was some animal. They put my stuff on the porch. So I got all my stuff. Like at that point, I was just like so numb because I was crying for weeks already. So I was just so ready to get out of that situation, get out of that feeling of being unwanted. I was abandoned. I got all my stuff and I drove back to the house 2 hours away. And then my dad came, he helped me. And then I moved in the house with my mom. Now, I haven't lived with my mama since 18 years old. That was hard for me. Me and my mom don't get along. We cannot be around each other longer than an hour. I had to move back with my mom. Just imagine coming from a big house that I had by myself with me and my son to a room. It was like a little small room for me and my son and all my stuff. I woke up every day just so dark. Then living with my mom, it was toxic. It's like I moved from an asshole to my mom now being complaining about me being there. Like, Mom, just be there, be supportive for me right now. Like, I'm in a dark place. I'm depressed. I'm not myself. I'm skinny as hell. Just be there for me. My mom, she didn't know how to be there for me. At first, my mom was giving me a hard time. She didn't even want me to come live with her. I had to find the strength, every day to just be able to get up. Transfer me and my son insurance back to Georgia. Try to, get back our life, that we had before I met him. And I had to do all of that alone. This is how I was feeling, and I would keep writing my tenant like every month. I have to move back in my house. I can't wake up another day being around negative people, toxic energy. I just want to be in my own space and be happy again. I didn't tell all of this to the tenant, but it's just like, this is how I was feeling. And I would keep, is this month, I don't mind giving back your security deposit. It don't matter. You can break the lease. I don't care. I just want to be back in my house. I thought I was supposed to be living in my mom's house for 3 months, and 3 months turned into 6 months. That's when I discovered acting. Acting is what saved me, because I was like, I gotta find something that I love to do, because I've been living for everyone else but me. So that's when I jumped into acting, because I was so passionate about it in high school. So I was like, acting. And I started going to acting class, taking it serious, got an agent. Everything started to, turn a leaf. And that's one of the things that I did to kind of get back on my feet. I did a lot of affirmations. I would wake up and I would write notes in my phone and just say, like, I am beautiful. I can just remember that place that I was in, Just had to do so much to bring myself back. I had to say, I am confident. I am strong. I am powerful. I am a star. Every single day I had to wake up and say those things to me. That was my stepping stone for me to get up every day. Because I was torn to pieces. I was broken. And I lost myself. So, little by little, I finally moved back into my house. I began to find myself again, do the things that I love to do. That's one of my stories of how I began to build up that strength to keep going. I was like, this cannot be it for me. There is light at the tunnel. I'm going to get everything that I want out of this life. Me and my son are going to live a wonderful life, and I'm going to get everything that I want. And I'm not going to stop until I get it. The lesson that I really learned from that relationship is to really love on myself and do what's best for me, and be with someone that is supportive of me, like I support them. I hope that this message can help anyone out there that may have gone through this or need strength or need guidance to figure out, how do I move forward, or how do I gain the strength to get through, this hard time. And a lot of things that I did was I used affirmations. I would wake up every day and, even if I wrote it on sticky notes on my mirror or on my phone, the more that I began to say those affirmations to myself, the more I began to attract those things to me. It was like magic. I started to be happy. I started to feel that confidence. That is one of the things that really helped me to gain a lot of strength to pull myself out of that deep, dark depression. I hope those things can help someone else. That's my Marchell Monday story time for the day. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video. And also, if you would like for me to cover any other videos, go ahead and comment below your thoughts about this video or any other videos that you would like for me to record. And that's it. All right, guys. Bye-bye.